Hi, we're the creators of Glow Vibes Art. My name is Bridget, and I'm the designer for this project. We created this project as a part of Mintbean's hiring hackathon for junior web developers.
Hello, my name is Arthur. I'm one of the developers who worked on this project.
Hey, I'm Dale. I'm the other dev who worked on the project. So the prompt that we got was we were supposed to build an app that lets users express their creativity through our work. The requirements were that were pretty simple. They just had to be able to draw or color and shade boxes upon mouse click.
We actually drew a lot of our inspiration from the Light Bright toy. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, and you're probably familiar with this, you had a light box where you would put neon colored pegs into it to make a design. Or you may also be familiar with the perler beads that you would set up on a pegboard and iron over them and fuse together a design for like a keychain. We decided to make kind of like a digital version of this, and we're going to give you a walkthrough of that.
So now we'll give you a little demo about how the app works so far, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, so here's the main dashboard for the application. So what I recommend doing first would be, if you don't have an image in mind here to upload, you can click one of the sample images that we have. So a really cool thing about it is once you click the image, it auto-generates a color palette based on whatever you selected. So from there, we can go ahead and choose a color and create little pixels. Clicking on a colored one turns it white. We can get a bunch of different ones in there, make it nice and beautiful. Okay, say you wanted a different color, like blue. Nice. Yeah. So that's a good way to start. Another thing you can do, you can clear the board here, get rid of this image. You know, if you have something on your computer that you want to generate the color palette from, you can do that as well. So let me just find oh, here's a good one. This is the Light Bright, kind of what we base this on. So you can see it tried to grab as many of the colors as it could from there. If you don't want one, you can delete them. And there you go. That's how to use the app.
Let's talk code for this project.
Sure.
So I want you both to think about some of the challenges that came up with this project. And maybe some ways that some creative approaches that you tried to solve it with. Arthur, why don't you go first?
All right, put me on the spot here.
Yeah.
So a couple things that came up during this project was the continual need to do some refactoring of the code and able to implement a feature. So this is just kind of how it goes when in app development, but one of the main ones that I can think of is having to refactor kind of the whole logic of the grid, how it's displayed and rendered. So give me a moment while I kind of pull that up. Oh, and good, I have the old code commented out. Okay, I'll share my screen again. So we used React. So here's the component that contains the grid. I'll move this over here. You can kind of see what I'm talking about right there. So originally, the state of each individual square was stored in the square component. So 400 little squares, all with their own little state that got changed on click. Problem that we ran into is when we wanted to implement this clear board button, which just clears the colors. There's no way to get in there and change every individual component, at least not cleanly. So what I had to do was kind of lift all this information up into the parent, just the drawing window. You can see where it gets generated here in the return statement. So all I did was kind of mimic that by creating a global object with the color and ID property. And yeah, a little bit, I mean, when I thought about doing this, when I realized we had to implement that clear board button, I was a little freaked out. I wasn't sure how that would turn out, but it ended up being pretty painless. So that's one example of some of the things we had to do kind of mid-project in order to implement some features.
Yeah, I remember. I think we had that conversation about refactoring the code because I think I was trying to make something and I was just playing around with it. And I'm very clumsy with, I guess, the mouse clicks or whatever. And I noticed that like some of them weren't like resetting. And I think that's what triggered it, right?
Yeah, it was that like clicking it to toggle the color and back to white was kind of what started that. And then we decided we needed to get a button in there to clear the board. So this actually works very well when we want to upgrade into kind of a full stack app to allow users to save their work. This is going to be way easier to save as data versus like each square component with its own state. So, and it also just kind of it reflects on good practices when coding in React and any front end framework also.
Yeah, that was a fantastic solution. Dale, what are some of the challenges that you came across and how did you approach solving it?
Yeah, so when building the file picker and the ability to upload the image to use as a template for your own artwork, a lot of that logic was stored within that component, but other pieces of our code we're going to need to access it, like the ability to pull the color scheme off of the image you uploaded required you to have access to the image itself. So let me share my screen really quick. So originally, a lot of it was stored within this logic right here, but we were actually able to move it up towards the panel and use this piece of code right here to actually store the uploaded image within the state of this app. And through quite a bit of trial and error and reading a lot about different types of data structures, we eventually settled on using a useEffect hook, and we used the URL.createObject URL. And a lot of what gave us trouble was actually the information we were passing in. And so it took quite a bit of work and quite a bit of trial and error, but through a lot of understanding error messages and a lot of logging what was actually like data was getting sent to the console, we were able to get the right information sent to where we needed it to go. And so the color picker and the color scheme could work well together, and you would be able to access the data from the file upload where it needed to go.
That's awesome. A lot of the challenges did come from us wanting to add even more features. And so I know that we're nowhere close to like where we, originally like imagined it to be. I'm really proud of for sure what we've done. I'm curious to know what are a couple of features that you see this having in the future. Arthur?
Yeah, so something I really want to do is kind of create a little bit more freedom for the user to change the colors kind of on a timer to kind of animate colors in and out and add a little bit of, I don't know, movement or the illusion of movement in there, some flashing of colors. If you wanted to make just some crazy, crazy smorgasbord of flashing colors on the screen, you could do that. So I'd like to kind of work on that after we submit this, and it would be fun, and I think it would look really cool.
That would be a really great addition. What about you, Dale?
So, given that this is a piece of art, like it's an art making tool, you want to be able to make art, you want to be able to share art with your friends. I think the ability to save that art to a back end and then either save it as just like an image for yourself or have the ability to connect and share that on like social media, like Twitter, Facebook, Meta, or whatever you want. Um, yeah, I think that could be a logical next step of where we take this app and what we implement next.
Yeah, fantastic additions. I would love to see that too. Thanks for listening to us share about our project, Glow Vibes Art. If you check the links in the description, you can go and view our code on GitHub. And you can also visit the live sites. We have a landing page for it with some information and tutorial steps for getting started. Or you can also just go ahead and jump in and get started. We have both of those linked below. Thanks for watching.